Chof Vav Amud Aleph. We'll begin Chof Hey Amud Beis, 4 lines from the bottom. He was making a chasana with the daughter of Rav Yitzchak Bar Shmuel Bar Marsa. He led him to the chuppah, but they could not consummate the marriage. Also, so he went to examine the Beis HaChuppah to see what was the problem. Why was this unusual event? Why did it occur? He saw that there was a Sefer Torah in the room, so they could not have relations in that room of the chuppah if there was a Sefer Torah. If I had not come here to examine it, you would have put my son in sakana. A house that has a Sefer Torah tefillin, also the shamash ways. One is not permitted to have relations with his wife unless it's removed from the house. The Sefer Torah is removed from the house, or it's put in one container in a double container. Where do we say that a double container helps? That's only if it's a kli which is not the normal kli that you put it in. The normal kli that's put into, even if it's 10, it's considered like 1. If a person normally puts the tefillin in a zekel and in another covering in another bag, and even if it's 10, it's only considered 1. We're trying to point out that, however, 1 it is considered, so therefore you would only need 1 more covering. So it has to be covered with a double wrapping. But the double wrapping has to be that a kli which is not normally put into. If it's a kli that or a wrapping that it's normally covered with, then even 10 is considered 1. Omarava glima akamatra kekli b'sekli dami. A covering, if it has a cloak that covers the chest, the box that the Sefer is in, the Sefer Torah is in, or the tefillin, it's considered a kli b'sei kli. It's considered a double wrapping. It's considered that it's wrapped twice. Rav Yeshua ben Levi, Sefer Torah tzarach lasos le'mechitza sora. Rav Yeshua ben Levi says it's not enough for a Sefer Torah to have a double wrapping to be covered in a kli b'sei kli. That's not sufficient. It has to have a partition. Tzarach lasos le'mechitza sora. It has to be separated with the mechitza. Double covering is not enough. Marzutri Ravashi Chalzil Duchte, the Maravashi, the Sefer Torah. He saw that the place where Ravashi was, there was a Sefer Torah. And he made a partition of 10 high. To be a mechitza 10 high, it has to be at least 4 wide. He made a partition of 10 high to separate the sleeping area from the Sefer Torah. Who are you going like here? It's like Rav Yeshua ben Levi. However, this permit for a mechitza is only if you don't have another house. But you have another house, meaning so if you're following the sheets of Rav Yeshua ben Levi, you're saying that you have to have a mechitza. But this is not sufficient because Rav Yeshua ben Levi said that's only if you don't have another house. But you have another house. I didn't realize, I didn't know. The Mishnah says that he has to distance himself from the Tzoya Arba Amas. That's only if the Tzoya is behind it. If it's in front of it, if it is in front of him, Dalet Amas is not sufficient. He has to distance himself as far as the eye can see. Whether he sees it or not, point out the Rishonim, is not relevant. It's as far as one could see. It has to be out of eyesight. And similarly for tefillah, for davening Shemona Esrei. How could you say that? It says you can face a basic kisei and daven. The Rishonim explained that basic kisei in those days were open fields. They were not like bathrooms that we have nowadays, which have walls, which are considered in a separate room. And the basic kisei in those days were open fields. So Rav Yosef said, I'm an Adam Keneged basic Kisa Mispal. He could face the basic Kisa Mispal. More answers off my skin and basic Kisa Shein Wait Soya. We're talking about a basic Kisa where there's no Soya. That's why you said you could face it. But, however, if there's Soya, it has to be out of eyesight. Correct the Gemara, how can you say that? Rav Yosef Barachan Dina Beis HaKisa Shalom Afapish in Wait Soya or Beis HaMerchat Shalom Afapish in Wait Adam. He said, this Isra of davening facing the basic Kisa, even if there's no Soya. And a Beis HaMerchat is in a bathhouse, even if nobody's there. It still alters. The very fact that this is what it's being used for, that alone creates the Yisr. Hello, the more answers off of my skin about Chadativ. We're talking about a new one. It was never used for this purpose. So therefore, if it was never used for this purpose, it's not considered disgraceful. It's not considered beneath the dignity to daven and facing this basic Kisei. Correct the Gemara, how can you say that? He had the following shayis, who, if one merely designated this area for a basic kisei, does that create the isur or not? What's the shayla? The shayla is zimun or ein zimun is a designation. Zimun, is that enough? Is that enough to give it a din as a basic kisei, and therefore one would have to distance himself from it and be out of eyesight? Mora says, no. Ki kami boile Ravina, his shaila about zimun was l'meikam Allah l'tzluil begave. That's to daven in the area, in the basic kisei. Yesh zimun is a designation, so therefore is a mutter even to daven in the basic kisei. But connected, if one was merely facing it, he didn't have that shaila. So that's where we say that one could face a basic kisei if there was only a zimun. But if it was used as a basic kisei, one has to be out of eyesight. The bathrooms of the Persians, even if it is used and it has soyas kistumim dami, Rashi explains that they had dug holes, tunnels, and it was on a slope, so that the soya never remained in the ground in the area of this basic kisei. There was never soya there. It always was dalet amos away from the ground level. So therefore, it's considered stumim, and does not have the din of a basic kisei. Let's see the Mishnah. Zav Shara Keri. A person is tummy with tumaziv. He's tummy 7 days. And now he sees tumas keri, as we learned earlier, that a bal keri is also with the retira. So he has a pre-existing tuma, and now he has a tuma of keri, or in other cases, venida. Here is somewhat in reverse. She has a pre-existing tuma of a nida. Shepalta shechozera. Prior to being a nida, she had relations with her husband. And then she became a nida, and after she became a nida, so she's already tummy with tumas nida. She's palta shechozera. She emits the shechozera, now which has a din of a keri. What is the din in these cases? Or a woman that had relations with her husband. So she now there's a din of a bal keri. Shiras nida, and now she became a nida. In all of these cases, tzrich and tefillah. It has to have tefillah. The din of a bal keri applies, and tzrich and tefillah is required. In all of these cases, we say tzvir and tefillah is required. As the Gemara will explain that what the chiddush is and how we apply it in the different cases. But Rabbi Yehuda says no, it's palter, it's not required. So again, the Gemara will define it more clearly. So let's see the Gemara Yeboilahu. We have a following shot about Keri Shara Ziva. If one was a bal keri, already had a din of a bal keri, which was, as we said, about keri, to learn Torah has to have tefillah from the Takanas Ezra, but now he became a Zav. So the tefillah that he will do will not be Matar, he'll completely be Matar in any event because he's still a Zav, became a Zav. L'Rav Yehuda Mahu. What would the din be according to Rav Yehuda? Now Rav Yehuda said in the Mishnah, in the case of the Mishnah, he says it's pot. tefillah is not required. What would he say in this case where he first was a Baal Keri and then he became a Zav? What's the shaila? Keep Potter Rabbi Yehuda Hasan Bezav Shara Keri. Rabbi Yehuda says it's Potter in the Mishnah, the case of the Mishnah where he was a Zav, first a Zav, and then a Baal Keri. He potters. Why? Dimikor la bar tefillah. Because since in the case of the Mishnah he was a Zav, the tefillah will not be matarim in any event because he's a Zav. Now he became the Baal Keri. Rabbi Yehuda says there's no requirements for tefillah because he's a person already before he became a Baal Keri. He's a person where tefillah will not be matarim because he was already a Zav. So perhaps, however, that's only in that case because when he became a Baal Keri, he was already tummy with a tumor where tefillah will not be matarim. He has to wait 7 days. But perhaps in this case about Baal Keri, but perhaps in this case, well, first he was a Baal Keri, so he already at that point, when he was a Baal Keri, he was required, a tefillah was required. Now, even if he becomes a Zav, Timikor bar tefillahu michayiv. Perhaps he would say it's chayiv. Oidim or shnor. Perhaps Rabbi Yehuda does not differentiate. Perhaps Rabbi Yehuda says that it makes no difference because since Lamaisa, the fact is that in any event, the tefillah that he would be toivel for the keri is not going to be matarim completely anyway because he has a different source of tumah, which he has to wait the required number of days. Perhaps Rabbi Yehuda says, therefore, tefillah is not required for the keri either. Let's bring a raya tashma from the case of the Mishnah. So she had, at first she had relations with her husband. So there was a din of a keri. There was a din of a Baal Keri. And tefillah would have been metayer that, then v'ra sanida. So that's equivalent to this case that we have the shaila with over here, with a Baal Keri, who became a Zav. Tzriach tefillah, the Tanna Kama says, Tzriach tefillah Rabbi Yehuda poiter, but Rabbi Yehuda says, nevertheless it's poiter, v'hamish hameshes ra nida, ki Baal Keri shara says ziva dami. It's the same type of tumah case, because first there was a tumah of Keri, and tefillah would have helped for that. And then there became another source of tumah where tefillah doesn't help. The kapot Rabbi Yehuda shmami. Now we see clearly that Rabbi Yehuda potters in all of these cases. So the Tanakama holds that even though the person is tummy with a tumah, where the tefillah will not be matayer him, the person has to wait a requisite number of days. Tefillah that he will do now will not be matar. Nevertheless, the Tanakama holds, if there's also a tumas keri, then tefillah is required for the tumah keri before he can be engaged in limud Torah. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, since in any event the tefillah will not be matar him because he has a different source of tumah, it's potter. Tane Rabbi Chia Behedya, he learns it clearly. Baal Keri, he learns his case. He says this case clearly, Tana this case, Baal Keri Shara Ziva Tzaref Tefillah Rabbi Yehuda Poiter. Harolach Misha Mesa, Harolach Misha Mesa, Harolach Misha Mesa, new parak. Now we're going to discuss the halachas of Tefillah. Previously we discussed halachas of Kriya Shema. Now we're going to talk about the halachas of Tefillah of Davenim Shemona Esrei. Tefillah Shachar at Chatzos. Shachris can be davened until Chatzos, until midday. Rabbi Yehuda Adal choice. Rabbi Yehuda said no, only until 4 hours of the day. We'll see in the Gemara what the basis of the machlokes is. What does this machlokes revolve around? In general terms, we know that the avos from Misaki and tefillos, but the Chachamim made the tefillos correspond to the korbanos, to the avodah that was done in the Mesa Mikdash. The tefillas shachar is keneged tomid shel shachar, mincha is tomid shel bein harabayim in the afternoon tomid, and maariv is keneged the hekder chalav and vorim which were burnt on the mizbeach at nighttime. So we'll see in the Gemara more clearly what this machlok is, how it relates to the korbanos, and why they argue whether it's chatzos or dalet shoyes. Similarly, they have a machlokes by mincha. Tefillos mincha erev. The Tanakama says mincha will be daven until nightfall. Yuraimer at plaga mincha. He says only on the halfway point of mincha. Plaga mincha. And we'll see in the Gemara clearly what plaga mincha, what it really means. We take the afternoon, the portion of the afternoon, and it's divided in half. There's the earlier part of the afternoon and the latter part of the afternoon, and the Gemara will see this discussion in detail. Tfilas Erev and Lakva, the Marav can be daven the whole night. And the Tfilas Musav can be daven the entire day. See the Gemara. Tanakama said that Shachris is until midday. Rabbi Yehuda says until 4 hours of the day. Very minimum. I'll ask you a stira. Mitzvasa im anetzachama. It should be daven with sunrise. With netzachama, kadesh yismach gula l'tfila v'nimsa mispal b'yayim. Krishma should be said with the nets, so that Shemona Esrei can be davened. Krishma said would be right before the net, so Shemona Esrei can be davened at netzachama. It can be done in Netzachama and your Mispal right at the beginning of the daytime. So you see that the Shemona Esrei is HaNetzachama, it's sunrise, not 4 hours, not midday, not 4 hours. More answers, Kitani Hilavat Siki, and that's mentioned for the people who are diligent with the mitzvah and are machav with the mitzvah. They daven at the earliest time and the most preferred time. They used to finish it with the Neitz, the Daven Shemona Esrei, and Hanetzachama. That is the Vasikin. But if otherwise, a person could daven Shemona Esrei either midday or Dalet Shabbos in the day. You're telling me only till midday? Everyone agrees it cannot be daven. You can't daven Shabbos past noon. The Rav If a person made a mistake, he didn't daven Marav. Mispal Shachris Shnaim. He can do a tashlumim. He make up tefillah. He daven Shachris. 2 tefillahs by Shachris. Shachris. If he made a mistake and didn't daven Shachris, Mispal Mincha Shnaim. He does a make up. He does Mincha Shnaim. So Mispal Mincha Shnaim. So you see over here that if he did not daven Shachris, he can daven Mincha twice. He's davening the makeup for Shachris in the afternoon. So you see Shachris could be davened in the afternoon. More answers, Kuli, Yomi Masechet. Yes, it could be said the entire day. However, ad Chatzois Yavel Schar Tefillah B'Zmana, but only until Chatzois is the reward, the schar of davening Mincha B'Zmana in the appropriate time. After noon, he has a schar tefillah, he does a makeup as a schar tefillah, but schar tefillah B'Zmana lo yavilei. He does not have the schar of tefillah B'Zman in the proper time. It is a makeup. He can make a tashlumim, but he doesn't have the schar of tefillah B'Zmana if it's past noon, if it's past Chatzos. Following Shaila Tavalo Yispal Mincha, Maushi Yispal Ariz Shnayim. If he made a mistake and he didn't daven Mincha, can he daven Marev twice? Can he daven Marev twice? What's the Shaila? We see here that you could daven a makeup tefillah, but what's the Shaila over here? Even though we said if you didn't daven Marev, you can daven Shachar twice, but perhaps that's only Mishum Dechad Yom, because that's within the same day. Because the day follows the night, and therefore, if you miss Marev davening Shachris twice Shachris, he's still davening it within the same day. So perhaps the Tashlumim, the makeup tefillah, is only if it's within the same day. But over here, even though we say tefillah is b'makam korban, it's corresponding to korbanos. And if you miss mincha, now the nighttime is the next day. It's considered already the next day. And if a person missed a korban, if he wasn't makar of the korban during the daytime, he can't make it up and do it another day, a different day. So perhaps if he missed mincha, perhaps he cannot make a tashlum in Marish time to do a makeup. That's one side. Dilma came to Tzlusa Rachmihi, calling us the boy Maslev. Or perhaps that no, even though we say that tefillahs are corresponding to korbanos, but it's not exactly the same as korbanos. Soif kol soif is rachmi, it's asking a rachmi from Hashem, and maybe therefore call Amos the boy Matzlev Azel, and therefore even if it's the next day, perhaps he still could do the makeup of the tefillah. From the lashon of the Gemara, it's mashma that the tzad is called Amos the boy matzvah. Perhaps he can daven anytime he wants. But what Taisus explains is, no, the shaila is, can he daven, if he missed mincha, can he daven marev twice? But there's no tzad to say that, for instance, if he missed mincha and he missed marev, can he daven shachris 3 times to daven shachris and make up for marev and make up for mincha? It's only the next tefillah that we're entertaining that he could do a makeup for. But if he missed more than one tefillah, you cannot make up a tefillah that was more than the tefillah that was previous to prior tefillah. Other Rishonim argue, but the Shittas of Taisus is that you can only do a makeup for the tefillah that was prior, immediately prior to the tefillah that you're davening now. So what is the answer to Hashmad? You could daven Marav twice. We do say that he could, if he missed Mincha, he could daven Marav twice. He could do a makeup. How can you say this? The Pasuk says, something which is twisted cannot be straightened out. Something which is a chesaron, something which is a deficiency, can't be counted. So what does that mean? It says clearly that if you miss the tefillah of Shachris, you cannot make it up. It's something that was me'uvas. It was a twisted matter. It was a wrong, something which you cannot straighten it. You can't fix it up. So it says clearly that you cannot do a tefillah that you missed. If the group of people, they were joined together to do a mitzvah, and he was not counted with them, he didn't join them to do the mitzvah, he lost it out. He missed out the opportunity. So here we see that by tefillah, if you missed it, you lost the opportunity. And before we said that you can make a tashlumim from the Gemara, what are we talking? When do we say that you cannot do a makeup? When do we say that you lost the tefillah, it's missed, and there's no tashlumim? If he didn't daven, he missed daven b'mezid. Intentionally, he was mazed by not davening. There's no tashlumim, there's no makeup. But if it was b'shaygeg, if it was by accident, then he can do a makeup. There's tashlum. And Amar Ravashi, it's meduyek, because it says the language is iktani boto v'lektani ta shmami no. Because the lashon over here where it says me'uvas lo yochal iskain is that the lashon is when it says that he is bottled krishma shel aretz or tefillah shel aretz or tefillah shel sham. He was mevatel. It doesn't say he made a mistake. He negated. It was mevatel. It was a much b'mezid. He did a b'mezid. There you cannot do a makeup. But b'shaygeg you could.